Hey guys, today you're going to be starting your genetic disorder research assignment, and you'll have about 2 days in class to get this done. You're going to be looking up a total of 4 different genetic disorders or conditions, and you'll be just answering a few basic questions about them. So it will involve a little bit of research, but if you do 2 a day, you'll have no problem getting all 4 completed on time. This project is worth a total of 90 points, which sounds crazy to have a project worth that many points. But to be honest with you, this is normally a huge grade booster for everybody. So if you haven't been doing so hot up to this point, here's your chance to really make a big impact on your grade before the end of the 9 weeks comes. So you'll be loading this tool in a new browser for Google Docs. Let me just refresh this real quick. Hopefully it'll work for me. There it is. Here's your button. You'll click on that button there, and it is going to open you up to this page here. So it says, research the following questions about each of the genetic diseases you have chosen. You must choose 4 disorders to complete. So I have a big list for you. All of these are different genetic conditions, and I'll tell you a little bit about each one of them in a second. If you have a certain genetic condition that I didn't include in the list, or you know somebody who has a genetic condition, then you can definitely look up one of those ones instead. These ones are just the most common, or not most common. They're the easiest to find information on. Be sure to answer each question fully. If time permits, you may research a 5th disorder for extra credit, doing the same questions you did for the other 4. I tell you it's worth 90 points, and here's a couple websites that you can use aside from just normal Google searches. So this is what your questions look like. I have disorder 1, and you'll tell me what disorder you're researching so that I know, if the questions are matching up and your answers are matching up. And you'll answer these questions here. There's only 10 questions for each one, and the last one is, what are the websites that you used? You'll just be copying and pasting the websites. Don't write google.com or wikipedia.com. Like how this has a huge website up here at the top, you would just go in there and you would copy the entire thing and you would paste it down there. Okay, so going back up here, let me tell you a little bit about each one of these disorders. Epidermoplasia verruciformis. This one is where people have wood-like or horn-like growths. Some of these ones have some pretty interesting looking pictures, and you're welcome to, look those up if you want to. This is one of those that looks pretty interesting. Not that, I would ever want to have something like that, but it is interesting to look at. Down syndrome is an intellectual impairment and some physical abnormalities. Klinefelter syndrome affects male physical and cognitive development. Double Y syndrome is where the boys are given an extra Y chromosome, so they would be XYY. Turner syndrome affects female development. Cry du chat is a high-pitched cry like a cat. They have intellectual disabilities and delayed development. Fragile X is an intellectual disability where part of the X chromosome is maybe broken off. Trisomy 18 up here at the top affects body development, slow growth before birth. Trisomy X affects females only. They have 3 X's instead of just 2. Marfan syndrome is abnormally long and thin fingers, and they also have some optical defects, which may lead to some eye issues. Prader-Willi syndrome is a complex condition that affects many parts of the body. Neurofibromatosis is one of those that you're not going to want to look pictures up about if you are squeamish. Tumors are going to form throughout your body. Tay-Sachs disorder is progressive neurological disorders, so you'll have some issues with your brain. Cystic fibrosis produces thick mucus resulting in respiratory infections. Ectrodactyly is also known as the lobster claw hand, so their fingers may be fused together in like a lobster claw form. Huntington's disease is the degeneration of brain cells. Color blindness makes seeing color difficult. Hemophilia is a blood disorder which makes clotting difficult. Canavan disease is progressive fatal neurological disorder. Angelman syndrome is a mental disability with really jerky movements. Sickle cell anemia is a blood disorder with the lack of oxygen, and hypertrichosis is werewolf syndrome. So they have a lot of really thick, dark hair that covers parts of their body where you don't normally have that, like your face. So it kind of resembles that of a werewolf. If you know of somebody who has a different disorder, again, you are more than welcome to look up that one instead. And you'll just be answering these couple questions here. Are there any other names for the disorder? List them. What are the specific symptoms? So what happens with it? What is the treatment for the disorder? Even if they can't be cured, there's normally always some type of a treatment that they can do. And what type of medical assistance will the affected child need as they grow older? What causes the disorder? So is it inherited or is it a mutation? Is it a dominant trait or recessive trait? Is it a problem with the number of chromosomes? For example, Down syndrome is where you have 3 chromosome 21s, or maybe you're missing a chromosome, you're missing a piece of a chromosome. So tell me, what caused the disorder to occur? How common is it? These are just statistics. How many people have it, and is it more common in men or women? Are there any prenatal tests for the disorder? So will you be able to know that the baby is going to have it prior to you actually giving birth to the child? For example, whenever I was pregnant, they had me do genetic testing because of my age. And I'm not old by any means. I was 29, but they said that I was, getting up to that age where you could start to be concerned. Apparently, by the time you hit 32, you are known as like a geriatric mother, which is kind of crazy, at least at my practice. So they start looking more into things. But it was a blood test, and they went through and they checked for Down syndrome and a few other disorders. And when the results came in, they told me, the chances were really low. So they were able to do a prenatal test for that. A lot of things you can't do prenatal tests for. If you have any of these answers and there's a no, just write there, no prenatal tests for it. How long is the average lifespan for a person with this disorder? Some of them, they may only make it a few months. Others, they may live completely normal lifespans. So if it's normal, like for example, color blindness, that does not affect your ability to survive a normal life. So you would just put normal lifespan. Can this individual have children in the future? Now, if the individual is going to die as a baby, then the answer would be no. But a person with color blindness, yes, they could have children in the future, and will they be affected? It is possible, because that is a genetic condition passed down on the X chromosome. It's X-linked. And then what have you personally learned from researching this disorder? So what was some, weird, interesting fact that you liked? And then you'll do that for each one. When you go to disorder 2, tell me what's the second disorder that you were researching, and so on and so forth. All right, guys, I'll leave you to it then. I want to give you as much time as possible. Again, you'll have about 2 days or so to get this stuff in.